Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us for today's webinar focused on techs and accelerating public sector technology outcomes in procurement. Edge is really excited to host this session in partnership with SHI, who helps to administer the techs contract, and you'll hear a bit more about how all that really works through the EdgeMarket co-op and what SHI is bringing to the table as an Edge partner. So first and foremost, just want to introduce Edge and a bit of the background on why Edge is bringing this session together today. Edge is a nonprofit member-based research and education network and a technology partner. We were formed by the President's Council in New Jersey for higher education. So we really like to say that we are sort of, by, and for the higher ed community. And the mission really has grown beyond just higher education as well, to serve really anyone with a public serving mission. That includes higher education, research institutions, K-12 districts, state and local government, libraries, healthcare, other nonprofits, really anyone that has, like I said, that public serving mission, anyone that receives public funding to help do what they do. Edge is here to help you succeed through the use of technology. And we do that in a number of ways. Initially, Edge was formed by the President's Council to build a network around the state, and we still do own and operate that network. Many of the higher education institutions in New Jersey get their internet connectivity through Edge, and that network has now grown regionally to have points of presence in Pennsylvania and in New York as well. One of the features of that network, particular to higher ed, that is really important is research and discovery. So we've built Edge Discovery to really facilitate that and to support the research world in higher education. We do things like events networking and community building, like you're experiencing today in webinar format, getting ready to get back to some in-person events as we go through the rest of this year, which is going to be exciting. Thought leadership and solution development, where Edge, the Edge team with our expertise and our experience in higher education and the public sector can bring that to bear for things like helping to scale instructional design efforts for online learning, virtual chief information security officer offerings at nonprofit rates, and things like that, where we can help to close the gap on solutions that public sector organizations need. And last but not least, EdgeMarket, which is our strategic and informed consortium procurement arm, which I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll let Dan get into that in detail. Dan, all yours.
Great, thank you, Adam. Well, hello everyone, I'm Dan Miller, I'm the AVP for EdgeMarket, and it's a pleasure to be with you today. EdgeMarket is a nonprofit cooperative pricing system for US-based education, public sector, healthcare, and nonprofit entities and organizations, with Edge serving as its lead agency. You could find the EdgeMarket portal at edgemarket.njedge.net, and one of the pages that we have within the portal is shown there. Our whole ethos is to provide safe, simple, smart procurements that deliver positive outcomes. And we do that through collaboration with our members. We've got a great procurement team, and we've got a great lineup of solutions. One of those is this TeCHS contract, our master agreement with SHI. TeCHS stands for Technology Catalog for Hardware, Software, and Services. And that was the foundation of an RFP that we conducted in the spring of 2021, which resulted in a public procured master contract vehicle that was awarded to SHI and encompasses SHI's full line, absolutely everything that SHI can offer in terms of products, services, and solutions. And no surprise, it's our most popular master contract vehicle in our co-op. So why did we do this? Well, we had two main reasons for doing this. One is to facilitate ease of purchasing and deliver massive scope, scale, and unsurpassed value in technology and services purchasing to all of our members in New Jersey and our co-op participants everywhere in the United States. And our second goal was, beyond just catalog-based purchasing, was to facilitate access to some of the great strengths of the awarded partner. And SHI did a fantastic job in both presenting their capabilities to facilitate ease of purchasing with scope, scale, and value, but also some really outstanding strategies and delivery capabilities for truly transformative solutions. They've got a great catalog, deep talent, scalable logistics that are extremely impressive, and state-of-the-art facilities that they continue to invest in and grow, and from which we are able to help our members gain access to the ways that they can really fundamentally alter how they do some of the key things that they have to do. And I'm going to get out of the way now and introduce Dominic Fama from SHI. He architected SHI's proposal to Edge, and has now led the team to create a really great relationship. So I'm going to stop sharing, Dom, and it is all yours.
All right, let me share out my screen over here, screen number 2. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Excellent. All right, so first and foremost, thank you everyone for taking the time to join the webinar today. Special thanks to the Edge team, specifically Adam and Dan. You guys have been tremendous in this partnership. When this bid got released, we were excited to jump all over it and respond to it because we felt very, very strongly and passionate about the value that we could provide to the Edge members, our customers, and New Jersey as a whole, and then bridging it out nationally across the board as we look to expand. So by way of introduction, I see some familiar names in the chat. So for those who I've met before, it's a pleasure to see you all again. Well, not see you all again, see your names all again. But I am the district manager for New Jersey and New York for education here at SHI. I've been an employee for 22 years now, long time, right? I have a team here of, I have a team of 8 in the field that span across higher education and K-12. I know the audience specifically today is higher education, but we do service K-12 as well too on my team. We also do have an inside division that is focused on some of the other smaller institutions. So if it doesn't span across my team, there is another district manager on the inside. His name is Kevin Van Buskirk. I don't know if he was able to join today, but if you ever have any questions about whom you need to work with at SHI, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'll follow up with my contact information. So a little bit about SHI. I'm not going to read off of the slide verbatim, but we are passionate about what we bring to the table. And I can speak from my own experience. I've been here at SHI for a while. I've had a lot of different jobs and nothing more satisfying than servicing the public sector and the education market. So, myself and my team, we pride ourselves on understanding our customers, what they need to solve, from a business standpoint through technology. And we're passionate about it, right? So over the years, we've grown tremendously. So what does that growth look like? Well, when I started back in 2000, we were, well under 1,000 employees. I think, we were maybe under 500 employees. We were about $1 billion in sales, and fast track to, 20 plus years later, just uncanny growth. $12 billion last year was posted. 3 billion of that was in the public sector alone. So, very strong balance sheet as it adheres to the public sector market. We are woman-owned, we are minority-owned, we are diverse, right? So we take pride in that, and it's great, right? The growth has just been tremendous. Ty Lee is the president, owner, CEO of our company. She's very involved, right? I report to a VP who reports to another, the president of public sector, who reports right to Ty Lee. So, honestly, we are just within a couple, shakes of a lamb's tail away from being in front of Ty as needed. And this holds true for, some of the larger projects we work on with our customers that are strategic. It's important to have leadership buy-in. I'm sure Sue Ryan will attest to that on some of the projects that we worked on with Rutgers for sure. And she'll touch base on that a little bit later with Lou. But as far as an approach standpoint, procurement, right? That's a big thing. That's how a lot of people have known SHI, for contracts that we've held and being able to get, the best price. We're excited about the procurement vehicle that we have in place with Edge. It is a very very strong cooperative, in my opinion, and we'll go into some reasons why. But from an SHI standpoint, the total customer value, the approach that we like to take is from, the top down holistically, is understanding where our customers' business needs are and how we can solve them through the use of IT. So we'll go into a couple other slides that talk about some of the different value adds that we can bring, whether it's some of our briefing centers, some of the engineers that we can leverage and whatnot. But the idea here is that we work with our customers in a manner that strategically, that helps us understand what they're trying to solve and address those challenges through the use of IT. And then how can we help them streamline the acquisition of those goods and services in a cost-effective manner? And then once they have procured those in the most cost-effective way, then how do we get those applications, those systems, those technologies deployed in a manner that the experience is a great one, right? And then the teams know how to use those technologies, everybody's properly trained, and so on and so forth. So with regards to how we approach solutions, we work with our customers to understand what technologies they need and help them transform their approach. Next generation technologies, whether it's hybrid classroom solutions, whether it's modernizing their data centers, whether it's creating collective classroom spaces, modern spaces. We have esports programs that we're working on, classroom refreshes across the board that we've done for a lot of our customers effectively. Cybersecurity as well too. That's another area that is just, the threats are nonstop. So our approach to that is a holistic one, and understanding what you have in your environment and what you can do to defend and strengthen your cybersecurity. And then the streamlining of IT. That's this contract, right? That's kind of the crux of it. So with regards to our portfolio, we take an approach where we break down the various different lines of business. It's a software-defined world. Software is in every single line of business, whether it's data center, networking, cloud, security, EUC, UCC. The idea here is understanding who we're working with, what lines of business they support, and then being able to add on resources that we can attach that can help you make the right decisions in a sound way that can help procure technology, right? So from a value prop standpoint, right? SHI, we're local. We have innovation centers that are local right here, headquarters in New Jersey. So some of you have been there before, some of you might not have been there, but felt it was important to discuss, what we can do in the innovation center. So we have basically, it's a technology playland. It's a data center that has all the various different technologies, from server to storage to networking. And there's different demos that we can do in there, speeds and feeds workshops as well too. So there's a lot that we can leverage within that data center. We also have a briefing center right here in Somerset, New Jersey, where we can host various different workshops and in-person events. So that's something that we look to leverage a lot. We've had customers hosted in there that have looked to upgrade their data centers from a 3-tier storage to maybe something more software defined. They don't want to work with the OEMs directly, so we can host them in our briefing centers with our resources to go through those technologies and have a more agnostic approach to that. All right. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it over to Lou, right? Because I want him to talk a little bit about some of the facilities that we have internally at SHI that he's worked with his customers, and give some examples to talk about how we can help out you guys in some of these instances. So Lou.
Thanks, Tom. So quick introduction around myself. I'm Lou Malvesi. I'm account executive on Dom's team. Been with SHI coming up on 9 years. So I handle just a handful of R1 accounts within New York and New Jersey, Rutgers and Princeton, my New Jersey accounts that have benefited a lot from the TeCHS contract, right? So just going into kind of the integration center and how Rutgers utilizes this. So essentially on the TeCHS contract, we do almost all of the Cisco networking that Rutgers does. We do all the data center equipment from a Dell perspective. We do all the collaboration software on the contract with Cisco. We do all the Juniper networking. We do all the Palo Alto and security fronts on it. And with this warehouse, a lot of the devices that come in from a Rutgers perspective, and that could be from, a holistic OIT approach that Sue's under, or it could be more departmentally, right? Where it's the Cancer Institute, medical school, Rutgers, Newark, et cetera. So a lot of client services Rutgers utilizes from here, went from imaging, hazard tagging, etching, autopilot enrollment, et cetera. And the beauty of the TeCHS contract is the ability to bundle hardware, software, and services into a cohesive solution so that Rutgers end users can procure it easily. And that's been the beauty of the TeCHS contract for at least the last 6 to 8 months that I've started using it with Sue and the Rutgers team. And I know that a lot of my peers have had success within Brookdale and Seton Hall and the Canes of the world. But yeah, I think from a value-added perspective, it's been very easily for me to bundle cohesive solutions with the OIT team that Sue supports in an effort to streamline processes for procurement to make sure that they're getting the best use of their technology, right? So I think with that, Sue's going to kind of talk about how Rutgers utilizes the contract and the value added that you get from there. Sue?
Sure. And my name is Susan Ryan. I am the strategic sourcing manager for Rutgers University. Been with the university for about 6.5 years. I holistically manage all our large scale contracts, RFPs, bids. Some of the reasons that Rutgers turned to using this contract, as opposed to many of us who use state contracts, it afforded us a little bit better on a strategic design. It doesn't mean that we sometimes have the ability to use this contract sole source, because it is a GPO, a co-op contract that we do use. However, it also helps us when we're building strategies. So for many of us that may go to Dell or those types of companies and just look at a package deal, when you're looking at resellers such as SHI, they can do more with this contract than just using a state contract where I have to run around if you're bidding out and try to figure out what is the right solution. So we were always scrambling. Well, is that included? Is this included? This contract afforded us the ability, whether we were sole sourcing it direct because we have the ability to do that, or whether they were bidding on something and they could put together a better package deal based off of this. So that is one of the reasons we've turned over our Cisco projects. Because of the strategy that was built, we went to a couple different vendors, including Cisco directly and their resellers, and tried to find a contract that would allow us to be more flexible in what we needed and have a little bit more breadth of use. Some of the other reasons are when you look at a lot of their partners that we have on the screen, we actually have that ability to use SHI through this contract, and it has afforded us better pricing and ease of flipping a contract from an RFP for those they're all in procurement. And it just makes the whole process a lot easier. It also affords us the walking away from all the terms and conditions that you constantly have to negotiate. One of the other things that we did with the tech contract that helped us a lot, we have a catalog through our marketplace system, through Jaeger. Many of you may or may not know. And our system alone with that SHI catalog does compete against a couple other catalogs we have, but it has afforded us better pricing. Because of this contract, we were able to not only get the normal discount that we would get that SHI would put on our catalog, it also added another layer. And that was one of the reasons we said we wanted to use this contract, because we get additional discounts. So that was one of the reasons we looked at it from both the holistic standpoint, from the cost efficiency and the ability to build better strategy designs as my RFPs become a lot more complicated. And we just don't send out for a flat, we just need you to sell Cisco products. We need holistically to have a contract where we can design things. We can have, if we're doing a tech refresh program with our equipment that we're looking at, we can put out a bid and we can make it a lot more complex. And when SHI does bid a lot of their projects, we can use this contract, and it really works a lot easier for us as far as leveraging why we turned to this. And we walked away from some of the NASPO agreements and the other agreements that we looked at that we were using with SHI.
Thank you, Sue. So I want to jump in real quick and add some commentary. I know that we breezed through some of the slides, right? But Lou, I want to pick your brain, right? And there's a couple other slides I'm definitely going to bring up, as you can see, but the config center, right? Ridge specifically. I know that you're working on a project or have been working on a project with the data center team around the 10-year master network refresh, right? And I know that this contract allows for you to take all those little, we'll call them doodads, so to speak, right? And then bundle them all up, put them as one SKU right into the e-procurement Jagger, punch out that we have created into the catalog. And then I know, because I was a part of this project, what Lou was able to do was go back to the OEMs, forecast out this business, lower down cost, wrap in the services, wrap it all up in a bundle, and give you one contract vehicle that allow you to get this all through the door and see it fit. So Lou, can you talk about that? Because that one was a big one. And I know that that's one that is part of Rutgers' big master plan. And it's basically, it's the easy button as a result, right? I would imagine, Sue, allowing us to get these racks out to Rutgers in an effort to upgrade the network in a manner that is, driving down cost and procuring on a contract that checks all the boxes, so to speak.
Yeah, there's Rutgers is in the middle of a large 10-year network master plan, and there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle that are involved in this, Cisco being one piece, but there's also, UPS data center racks that they're refreshing across New Jersey right now, right? And so what we do at SHI and Ridge right now for Rutgers is we procure all the data center equipment, we bring it into our warehouse, we have quality control experts that will actually rack and stack, we send configuration files to the Rutgers team, they agree to it, we rack and stack it, we cable it as how they want it, and then we'll essentially deliver it to XYZ location across New Jersey, right? And that's one aspect of the network master plan with UPSs, but we do the same thing with large access point rollouts. We're in the middle of some switch rollouts. And, we can utilize this contract for simple inventory services or deployment services from, actually config services, which we do on that UPS equipment now, right? But like I said in the beginning, it's turned in from a, we need to find different contracts for different manufacturers and procure those different type of ways to becoming a holistic way for, like I said, Sue's customer, which is the Office of Information Technology, to say, hey, Lou, we want this rack with APC, Cisco, HPE in it, rack and stack, cable it, shrink wrap it, send it to a location. It's all done on the text contract that are procuring in a very easy way. And I think that's been helpful to Sue's customers in OIT because they haven't had that luxury before, right? So.
One of the things I can add to this from a procurement standpoint, when we first looked at this, I knew that they were going out to bid for this type of contract, and regardless of whether SHI won or anybody won, the design of this contract, when Dan first came to me, was talking to me about this, was really to holistically find a contract that had more components to it. So if you're looking to bid a complex strategy, you can leverage this type of contract. And for us, the Edge contract afforded us the ability to have a vehicle that we can design more than just, I need to buy software, I need to buy hardware. A lot of the state contracts that I use, doesn't matter who we're going to, if I need to buy Microsoft, I'll buy it through the state. And contract, like for example, for Dell, but then you don't get a lot with it and you can't build a strategy. This contract allowed us to use it for SHI, but when I build out strategies and we use several contracts, this allows me to find a strategy build and have all the components in one. So wait a minute, I can't contract this piece out because that's not part of the list. Or you have to go somewhere else to get that piece of whatever project we're working on. The way that Dan and NJ Edge built this contract, which is what I'm seeing more with a lot of the different GPOs, co-ops and whatnot, is to really holistically make it so when a supplier needs to bid something out, they can build a strategy design versus just buying. The software is always the easy piece, but looking holistically at what avenue can we use so we can continue to use all the different components of the contract and be successful to build out strategies. So that was one of the reasons why I actually chose to switch over. And we use a lot of different vehicles. I use everything from Omni and Premier, state contracts, GPOs. I use them all. But this contract, when Dan approached me with it and said that SHI got awarded it, it was more like, well, what's the benefits? And the benefits came to, you carry every category in this contract. This is a lot easier for me to deal with than running around trying to say, okay, I have to buy the Dell stuff from them. I have to get the implementation piece from SHI. I have to go somewhere else to get some of the Cisco products that I needed. And that's afforded us to build out some of the bigger projects that we were just talking about.
So that's a great point, right? And a good segue to something I wanted to cover. So Dan in the beginning mentioned how you can go on to the Edge Marketplace and take a look at the contract and get any information. So if you do go to Edge Market and you go learn about TeCHS, what is TeCHS, and you drill down, the categories and groups was something that I took into serious consideration when we, SHI, were responding to this bid. I want to thank Michael Isolda, who I know is on the call right now, and I'll give him a little shout out with a plug on a slide in a little bit, who helped me out. Michael Isolda's he's the director of our government and education strategy team. He is an ex-CIO. He's worked in procurement. He's understood, some of the nuances with it. And to Sue's point, right, we covered systems and input devices and memory and storage, all your run-of-the-mill stuff, software, networking, but we were very, very mindful of the time, right, and the space. So what I mean by that is furniture. There's never been a contract really that kind of called out furniture specific, classroom furniture, esports, maker spaces, adaptive technology, health and safety. With everything that's been going on with the world and COVID over the last 2 years, we felt it was important to add a section that covered health and safety, cloud. Any type of as a service covered. Security, we knew that was covered under software and network equipment and all that, but we felt it was important to also call out cyber and physical security. So to Sue's point, a contract that is all encompassing, that covers SHI's entire catalog, that also includes services, that is a discount off of SHI's advertised list, not the manufacturer's OEM list price. And fun fact, SHI's website is updated once a week on average to make sure that we are competitive with that of our competition. So we have people going out there, going to our competitor's website, taking a look at what their prices are, and then tweaking accordingly. So, definitely an important part to bring up as well too. Got a couple more slides here and then we'll open it up for any questions, right? So services is another component as well too. I know that, the whole team underneath me has conversations with their customers, whether it's asset management, lifecycle services, professional services around data center, services of all type, config services, as you can see as well too. What we also help our customers with is the training aspect of it too. Let me switch slides. So we recently did have an acquisition at SHI. CTG Training Group was a partner that we worked with a lot. We did acquire them, right? We figured that we offer our customer, pre-support. We help them with the integration piece, the procurement piece, the services piece. Well, how about we make that experience a great one, and we offer the professional development and the training that goes along with that as well too. So think anything with regards to training, whether it's for your IT staff, whether it's for your faculty and staff, they want some PowerPoint training, we can host that at SHI's briefing center and have the training there. Get out of the classroom, so to speak, and into our classroom. So very excited about that. Michael Isolda, who's on the call as well too, and his team. We got a government and an education affairs team. This is a tremendous value add that I am passionate about on our team that we haven't had before in the education space. So we're verticalized. We have education resources on Michael's team that are very specific to classroom technologies, adaptive technologies, whether it's esports, professional development. There's a lot here. The team is growing. I think the last time we checked, there's like about 15 resources within Michael's team. We also have a funding and community strategy team that covers all sorts of stuff, E-rate, grants, all sorts of funding as well too. The grants team can work it works with our grants office to help identify grants with your team that are available that you can leverage for professional development, critical infrastructure, services, stuff like that. So if grants is something that you're interested in, please let us know. We'll be more than happy to engage that conversation. To close us all home, TeCHS. What's covered under TeCHS? Well, what isn't covered under TeCHS is the better question, right? Because the answer is nothing, right? We tried to make it bulletproof. So whether it's your run-of-the-mill client device, server refresh, storage, software, licensing agreements, services, as you can see from this eye chart, there are a lot of products that we can cover. This is just a quick snapshot of many. We are here to help. It can all be covered under this contract. We're excited to support you all. I don't have any more slides. We will open it up for questions. We wanted to keep this one short and sweet. We thank you for your time, for sure.
Thanks so much, Dom, and thanks, Lou and Susan, for sharing a bit of your insights as well. Dom, if you wouldn't mind stopping the share for a second, I think Dan has a bit of wrap-up content and a how to reach us slide just to throw up. And in the meantime, a couple of questions did come in, and let me pull up the chat to get to those. So first one here, how does SHI's pricing on this contract compare to other private or public sector contracts, i.e. a NASPO value point or other contracts of that nature? Can you comment to that, Dom, on how pricing compares? And then I think we can get into a little bit about what else separates this contract from those other public sector contracts that are out there.
Yeah, sure. So I think the biggest thing here, the biggest differentiator is the fact that it's all encompassing, right? When it comes down to pricing, we'll have to look at contract per contract. Some of them are very specific as far as what goods and products and services you can procure. NASPOs, if I look at a NASPO is going to be discount off of MSRP pricing, which is the OEM's manufacturer suggested retail price, versus SHI is going to be SHI's advertised discount off of list on our website. So that's a big key differentiator, in my opinion. I've been a part of conversations with OEMs where they're like, hey, we're slashing prices in half, but the MSRP went up by 25%, right? So they kind of dictate that price and that cost. We value taking the approach of our advertised discount off of list. And to the point that I made a little bit earlier as well, too, we fact check our website with our competition, once every week or so to make sure that our prices are in line. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I think it does. And I think you hit on it at the start there, and Susan hit on it a bit when sharing the Rutgers side of things. The value really is in the integration possibilities with this contract, where those others like a NASPO or something are more narrow and based on the vendor or OEM. This lets you really pull together a kind of a multifaceted solution in one contract and really simplify that process. So
that's exactly right. We can use the example that Lou had mentioned with the network refresh, right? I mean, Lou, how many different OEMs are in that rack, right? I mean, 4, 5, 6 different OEMs, maybe. So, I mean, to find one contract to procure all that, like there's probably multiple NASPOs, so there's a lot of different contracts maybe to get that done. And would it have ever gotten done if we didn't have one contract to procure that entire solution under in a cost-effective manner?
Right. Makes sense. Dan, this might be one for you. On the TeCHS contract, is there a vendor fee? Is there a vendor fee paid to Edge? And if so, how much? So I guess this might be a question of from the institution or the district or organization. Is there any fee to Edge to participate?
So great question. So there are no fees to join the EdgeMarket Co-op. There are no fees on any transaction that a member or a participant in the co-op would pay. There is the typical administrative fee that the vendors do pay Edge, and it varies between 1 or 2%. And it's all available in our contracts. You'll see if you were to read our contract with SHI, it's a 1% admin fee. So extremely competitive from national perspective, and that's how Edge funds doing these sorts of procurements.
Makes sense. Thanks, Dan. Another one probably for you, Dan. What was the basis of the bid and award? And was it price, breadth of lines? Were there other criteria? How did Edge kind of get to the idea of the award and the results?
That's a great question. And yes, to the things that were mentioned specifically, but more to the story. We issued the RFP after some planning and thinking and talking with folks like Sue and others right in the middle of the impact of COVID, which turns everybody's life sideways. And so we knew there was frustration with state contracts. We knew there were lots of challenges with how people had to, as Sue so elegantly stated, would have to sort of self-assemble the sourcing of elements for a strategic move. So very, very difficult to execute on strategy because you had a balkanized contract world out there. And we learned through COVID that our members and Edge needed to move on a dime, needed to make key decisions to be able to activate on those decisions effectively. So our criteria were absolutely breadth, scope, scale of solution, hardware, software, et cetera, and services, the ability to deliver on scale, the ability to deliver nationally, not just New Jersey, but nationally, because this is a problem shared by everyone around the country. We were looking for the basic capabilities. We were looking for a pricing strategy to maintain weekly or frequent competitive pricing. And Dom just talked about how they do that. We were not looking for discount off of MSRP because that's a game that nobody wins except them. And we didn't want any of that. So, the other piece that we were looking for when we have all of the basic inherent capabilities and the right kind of adaptive model was vision. We learned a lot with the COVID thing. We wanted a partner that had a vision for the future, had pathways, was making investments to deliver transformative solutions, had an ability to adapt to any new adverse reality or take advantage of any new great opportunity. And we were so impressed with the SHI proposal, and it was a competitive process. There were other major players that bid as well. But when we looked at all of it, reputation, relationship, track record, all of the other basic stuff, it was clearly SHI that was head and shoulders above and has exceeded our expectations as high as they were from that day forward now to this. And we're looking forward to a great future.
Thanks, Dan. We have a question here specific to the grants services. So with the grant service, is there a document that's available, a list of available grants that might be tailored to individual organizations? Are there many opportunities for grant funding, and how do you help pinpoint what fits based on a specific institution's environment at the right time?
That's a great question. So Michael, can you speak? Can we unmute Michael by chance, or is it just the panelist that can speak? Adam, if not,
I should be able to raise Michael from a participant to a panelist. Give me 1 second. Yeah, Michael, I just promoted you to panelist. If you're there, you can accept.
Yeah, Michael, jump in and just talk through the process real quick, because I know no one better to answer this question than you. Yeah, we got to get off of mute. Well, right now we just see a smiling face. That's all.
I didn't fix my hair. Sorry, I wasn't prepared to be on this. So we have grants, partnership with the Grants Office LLC, and we have two full-time grant, a director and a program manager. We have an information collection tool that you simply list what project you would like to work on, whether it's modernizing data center, server upgrade, cybersecurity grants. And what this service does is goes through 5,000 different grant programs throughout the world and gives back customers a free report of competitive grants, whether it's federal grants that specific to pandemic, whether it's GEAR, ESSER, or HEPR dollar grants. And it's presented to the customer. And then with that, you can use the grants office to hire them to write the grant. And you don't have to, it's independent. They can use whomever they choose. So it's a free service that we offer as a part of the value add. And if you have any more questions, we could drop my name in there and I can connect you with Linda Heiss, who was our grants director, who was on the earlier slide. Thanks for the shout outs, guys and gals. And Sue, you're awesome.
Thanks, Michael. And a question while you were going there, where can we access this tool? Is there somewhere that we can point people to, either a link that we can send and follow up, or should we just connect them with some of those contacts?
I'll get that link and put it in the chat, and we could do a follow up with all the attendees if we don't get it to time.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Adam, one thing that I wanted to add, I know this specific was to present SHI, but one thing that Dan and I did talk about with this contract, or more or less the bid, one of the things you added to this that was interesting for me was the professional services piece when you went out and did that. And I have to say that had to be something interesting to me, because from a procurement standpoint, the contract itself, sometimes, you have to bid out the professional service piece and have someone do all the consulting piece. And then you have to buy your products from somewhere else for the strategy. And sometimes you do have to bid that out, because cost efficiencies, we all have to do that. We all have to take a look and see, okay, what is this holistic project going to cost me? And sometimes you have to separate it out, because certain people only deliver the product. Some people only deliver the professional services. I did find that to be, for us, a benefit from some of the other contracts that I use, because again, even if we were to award something to SHI, not only, I might have to use 2 or 3 different contracts for the different products, or any supplier. I mean, even when you go to Dell or you go to CDW or any other suppliers, this contract afforded us to be able to have them have one vehicle on any of my bids or anything direct, to include professional services. And as you build out strategic projects, that's always a lot easier for us than running around and trying to figure out, okay, I have to do this, I have to do that. So, and that was just a note that, Dan and I had talked about when he said, we're going out to bid. And that was one of the components. I said, well, gosh, anything you could do to include the consulting piece that we need. We look at it 2 ways. We have our catalog that everybody uses, a simple catalog, which, you can discount. But then you also have the strategy bills for all the other stuff that we do. So that was the uniqueness. And I just wanted to point that out.
Thanks, Sue. And we were very mindful of that as well, too, because we knew that when we're offering a full solution, that the services go along with that, right? So what we, SHI, did was we added very specific rates based on who that engineer might be, if it's senior level, entry level, what have you. But we also said, hey, listen, this is just an hourly rate. We can also do a scope of work. And if we do one of those, that'll kind of change what the cost will be. So we cover that portion as well, too. That was very important to us. So thank you for bringing that up, for sure.
And then I can also add, as even though, I'm coming from a Rutgers perspective, Lou will tell you, that doesn't mean we don't make them submit their bids for everything that we do.
That's right.
We do sole source sometimes, depending upon the projects, but this just afforded us that we could build better bids. So we could afford several of the suppliers that we use or look at all the time, to make the whole contracting piece, once it's awarded, a lot easier. And that was really our game for why we use it.
Thanks, Sue. And Dan, I don't want to speak out of line, but maybe you can touch on this very, very slightly. Like, if there's a certain school that maybe needs a tweak, to meet their procurement, procedures, isn't there a willingness to do something like that for them?
Yeah, we architected the agreement in such a way that if there was a member that was looking to do significant things but needed to have some adjusted terms, then we can help facilitate that. It would be an agreement between, you and SHI, but we could make sure it incorporates or references this mainline agreement itself. So we recognize that our role was to, eye on the prize, right? Help our members get to the solutions they need, not just another component-based contract. Hence, the services component, et cetera, but also be able to introduce any additional terms and conditions that are specific to them that help them even improve upon the baseline agreement that we have. So we try to look at it from the perspective of the buying organization. What are all the parts that actually give them the equipment, so to speak, the ability to move forward with clarity and confidence? And so far, so good. It seems to have worked pretty nicely. We're looking forward to serving more of you.
One more kind of nuts and bolts question here, and Joe, let me know if we're answering this correctly when we get to it. When you execute a contract with a vendor, for instance, an Adobe or Microsoft, do you identify the contract to other state entities that can be used, thus eliminating the need to micromanage a bid, proposal, or quote and save time in negotiating? So looking at it from that perspective, I guess the question is rather, are we pulling in other previously kind of bid, or, how are we sourcing these vendors and things, and how do we simplify that bid, proposal, quote process?
Well,
Yeah,
it's inherent.
Yeah, Dan, I think I could take it
Yeah.
because what I saw previously prior text contract was a NASPO agreement and saying, hey, this product needs to be purchased on this date, submit your RFP. 3 resellers came to the table. Next OEM, you did the same thing. And then it would be, the Rutgers of the world deciding on which OEM would be based on the VARs. Now with the ability of the text contract, we can actually work with the end users within OIT to work with the specific OEMs, like a refresh your data center network. We want to use Juniper, Arista, and Cisco. Get a holistic quote, get a holistic proposal using the text pricing, and then present it to the Rutgers OIT end users. From there, they have the ability to go to RFP for the text, or they can obviously sole source through this contract, Joe. So I've seen it shift with the text contract from a NASPO to the text, strictly based on, hey, the customer wants to procure different types of solutions, and they want it the easiest way possible. And SHI helps with the process of the pricing and the negotiating and the solutions and the configuration changes. We do all that for the customers. Whereas, if it was an RFP, it'd be change orders and stuff like that. So we're hopefully helping Rutgers OIT in procuring things quicker by using this test contract. I hope that answered the question, Joe.
Yeah, so we're not beholden to those individual vendor contracts. We can pull it all together to build a solution in one place, essentially. And then just the last one that I saw, like the custom work and building the catalog into Rutgers and attaching it to what's available under a text contract. Is that something that's available just to larger institutions like a Rutgers, or can SHI kind of customize that process and work through it with, really any kind of institution?
Yeah, I'll jump in there. So the short answer is we will work with anyone to build out a catalog. Now, Rutgers has an e-procurement platform in Jagger, so it's done a little bit more automated. But if you don't have an e-procurement platform set up, then we can still set up an shi.com website for you to purchase off of. It's just going to be a username and login that you'll have to go into and sign in that way. And we can publish quotes. We can create landing pages. We can work with facilities and understand what you're buying for the year as far as like projectors and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot that we can do. Yeah. So the short answer is no, you do not need to be a large institution to get set up in a catalog.
Yeah. And we already have text pricing integrated within our catalog team. So once you actually get the catalog set up for XYZ customer, the text pricing will actually feed into that automatically. So like I said, the integration with ServiceNow and Jagger and all that stuff is a little more work on the back end, of course. But if you wanted a simple shi.com catalog, you can use it with the text pricing tomorrow.
Great. Well, thanks, everybody. I don't have any additional questions. We'll be here for a couple minutes wrapping up. So if you do have any, if you're still on the call, any additional questions, feel free to drop them in. We'll still get to them. But in lieu of that, Dan, anything you want to wrap up here on the slide or otherwise EdgeMarket or text that folks should be aware of?
Well, I think we've covered a lot of great material, and you really have heard about the spirit of this contract, why we did what we did, and the great assembly of the team to put this together with great input from folks like Sue, et cetera. So I encourage you to take a look at it. The EdgeMarket portal, edgemarket.njedge.net site is available for you to peruse. You can download the RFP that we issued and that sort of thing. I encourage you to join EdgeMarket if you're not already in it. It's free to join, and once you join, you can get access to the contracts themselves. And we are available to answer any questions. Again, we are here to serve, and we understand the most important perspective is that of your own, and all things here are lined up accordingly. So we thank you for your time and look forward to supporting you in the future.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Dominic. Thanks, Liv.
Everyone.
Thanks, Susan. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, thanks, Susan. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks all.